I first started selling on Amazon in 2018, and in that time, I've gone on to generate millions in revenues and hundreds of thousands in profits, but it hasn't been smooth sailing. In that time, I've been attacked with fake one-star reviews by competitors, I've been suspended, I've lost products due to patent infringement, and as of this month, I've just ticked another box, and that's having £10,000 worth of goods seized by HMRC. Yeah, it hasn't been a good month. So here's what happened, and most importantly, how you can ensure that the same doesn't happen to you. Back in September, I was expecting to receive a shipment of around 3,000 units from China. And that shipment also included a brand new product that I was just about to launch on Amazon. I was so excited. As expected, my freight forwarder emailed me and they said that the boat carrying my shipment, it had arrived safely in the UK. And just like the hundreds of other times that I'd imported into the country, I knew that my products would probably be with Amazon in the next 10 days or so. Exciting stuff, right? However, after a few days of waiting, I was told that for the first time ever, HMRC had randomly picked my shipment for an inspection, which apparently after 5 years of importing goods into the country was actually pretty lucky. Now, inspections, those are mainly carried out to ensure that anything that you're importing isn't illegal or that you're not trying to dodge taxes by under-declaring the value of your goods. And ever since that I started running my Amazon business in 2018, I've always done things legitimately and I've ensured that I've paid the right amount of tax. So with that being in my head, I just wasn't particularly worried about HMRC taking my goods for an inspection. But here is when things started to go south. HMRC are seemingly pretty short on staff, and because of that, they've got a huge list of shipments that all have long processing times. And after 2 weeks of me waiting for my products to be inspected, my shipment still hadn't even been moved from the customs warehouse, which wasn't just super frustrating, but also really expensive. If you thought that customs storing your goods whilst you waited for them to inspect your product was going to be free, well, think again, because it is ridiculously expensive. And for the pleasure of them storing my 3,000 units, I was asked to pay £500 after just 10 days. And to put that into perspective, at any one time, I have roughly 50,000 units or so being stored with my third-party logistics provider. And those guys, they charge me about the same amount for a month's worth of storage. So yeah, the customs guys, they ain't cheap. After around 2 weeks of waiting, I was told that finally HMRC had collected the shipment from the customs warehouse and they were now going to be doing a full inspection with no ETA provided. Sweet. All I could do was just wait patiently and hope for the best. I mean, I hadn't done anything illegal, so I had nothing to worry about, right? Wrong. After 4 weeks of waiting for HMRC to get back to me, I finally received a love letter from them that said that after they completed their inspection, they had decided to seize my entire shipment for 2 different reasons. The first was that I was using the wrong duties code for the type of product that I was importing. And the second was that my shipment contained 1 additional parcel that wasn't mentioned on my purchase invoice, so it hadn't been declared correctly. That was £10,000 worth of goods gone, just like that. And I was absolutely devastated. Not only because my brand new Amazon product had now been confiscated over what was an honest mistake, but because if I had selected the duties code that HMRC had instructed me to, it would have just resulted in me paying £200 extra worth of duties. So £10,000 worth of merchandise being seized because of £200 worth of duties not being paid. Absolutely bonkers. And if you're thinking, well, Jansen, obviously there was something dodgy in that extra box that you didn't declare. Well, sorry to disappoint you guys, but that box was very boring. It literally contained even more boxes that were to act as spares for customer returns. And I was given those for free by my supplier, which is exactly why they didn't feature on the invoice. Now, if you ever get one of these letters from HMRC, the first thing that I'll say is that they're pretty scary. They contain lots of formal language and quoting the law about how the seizure that they've just made is completely lawful, no matter how unfair you think it is. But here is the big but. If you read that letter slowly and carefully in full, there is some light at the end of the tunnel. Towards the very end, there is a tiny paragraph that talks about making a restoration request, which in simple terms means that you can ask the taxman to give you your goods back. And I've no idea why they don't just write that, because for about 15 minutes, I had my head in my hands thinking about how completely unfair this whole thing was, until I kind of reread the letter and I noticed this last paragraph. Before asking HMRC to please give me my seized Amazon products back, I did something that I highly recommend that everybody do if they're ever in trouble. And that is to ask an expert for help on what to do. After spending 5 minutes on LinkedIn searching for people with customs work experience, I found and messaged 3 experts from across the UK, and I told them exactly what happened and asked for any advice. They all replied within hours, and I got some really good tips on what to do next. And one of the guys that I messaged, he even called me to walk me through the entire process. And that really settled my nerves and was something that I just never would have expected anybody to do for free and to a complete stranger. So thanks for that, John. And it's one of my big take-home points, guys. If you're ever in trouble, just feel free to reach out to people on LinkedIn or whatever network that you have and see if they can provide you with any guidance. Don't suffer in silence. At the same time as messaging these guys on LinkedIn, I also emailed HMRC's free classification service. And that's something that I advise anybody that's importing goods in the UK to do, no matter how confident they are with the duties code that they've selected, because that is exactly what led to my downfall. And when I emailed HMRC, their helpline, they replied really quickly. They gave me the right code to use for my main product, and they gave me the code to use for the packaging boxes that I'd just been given for free. Within just a few hours, the HMRC classification email guys, they replied to me and they gave me the right code to use for my main product and told me that for the packaging boxes, they had to still be declared on my invoice at the cost to the supplier, even though I got them for free. So they told me to do that and they gave me the right duties code to use, which was actually a whopping 0%. I know, ridiculous, right? Once I'd spoken with the experts on LinkedIn and got confirmation of the right duties code to be using, I did what was suggested, which was to write HMRC an email and basically apologize for my foolish mistake, promise that it wouldn't happen again, and to beg for my products back. And after confirming figures with my accountant, I also mentioned that if I permanently lost this shipment, it would have a pretty devastating impact on the sustainability of my business. And after 3 or 4 hours of reading and then rereading what I'd written, I hit the send button and I crossed my fingers and toes. Well, the Amazon gods must have been feeling pretty sorry for me that week, because just a few days later, I got a response back from HMRC that said that they would give me the goods back given the circumstances, as long as I paid the duties owed, which was about 200 quid. But they did say if it were to happen ever again, the shipment would be permanently seized with no chance of restoration. And that's pretty harsh in my view, given the huge value of the goods and the tiny duties bill in comparison. But even though I thought that, there was no way I was going to argue with them. After 8 weeks of waiting for my shipment to arrive, I am so pleased and relieved to say that it's finally arrived at the warehouse and it can now be sent to Amazon just in time for Christmas. So, lessons learned here that you guys should take note of. They are, no matter how confident you are with the duties code that you selected when you're importing goods, just get HMRC to confirm that it's right by emailing them so that you know what you're declaring is 100% correct. Even if you get given spare parts or anything else for free by your supplier, make sure that you declare it and it goes on your customs invoice. You should always reach out to experts whenever you need help. Not only will they save you a lot of stress and worry, but they'll also get you to a resolution much quicker than if you suffer in silence. And finally, if you ever get a letter or an email from HMRC, triple read it and make sure that you understand what it is saying before you start panicking and running to your wife for sympathy. Maybe like I did. This whole ordeal was a huge learning lesson for me, and it's one that I'll be very careful to avoid happening again. Over the past 5 years of selling on Amazon, I have been beaten and bruised too many times to count. Suspended accounts, competitor attacks, and most recently, products being seized by the government. But no matter how big a problem I've faced, one thing that I've always done is refuse to give up until I found a solution to fix things. And I'm so glad that I've consistently had that mindset, because if I didn't, there's no way that I'd be standing here today with an Amazon business that generates 7 figures. Instead, I'd probably be on a park bench getting pissed up and feeling sorry for myself. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're still watching this, no matter how hard you find things and how unsolvable a problem might appear, stay positive and do not give up until you find a way to fix things. There is always some form of solution. I hope that you guys enjoyed my story and you learned something from it. See you guys next time.